Madam Clerk, Communication 685.
Communication 685, appointments to Hawaii State Association of Counties, Inc., HSAC, and nominees for the National Association of Counties, NACO, and Western Interstate Region, WIR, Board of Directors. From Council Chair J. Yoshimoto, dated February 10, 2014, transmitting a request by HSAC President Mel Raposo that the Council submit to HSAC its approved appointee and alternate appointee to serve on HSAC for fiscal year 2014-2015, as well as the Council's nominees to serve on the NACO and WIR Board of Directors, waived GREDC.
Madam Chair, move to file communication 685. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Yoshimoto and second by Mr. Ilagan.
Madam Chair, for council members' information, I received this letter from Mr. Raposo, President of HSAC, and the letter speaks for itself. So what I wanted to do was have a council discussion on the appointment the appointments as mentioned in the letter. So I would throw it out there for council members' thoughts, ideas, suggestions.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Onishi.
Yes, I'm just letting council members know that I'm still willing to serve on HSAC, and I don't know why they put NACO, because Big Island, we only get one appointee to the WIR Board of Directors, so it would be being appointed to the WIR Board of Directors and not NACO. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair? I think Mr. Onishi's been doing a great job, and I absolutely support him staying in that position. And curious to see who would want to be alternate. I'll leave it at that.
I just want some clarification regarding, for this nomination, is it going to be for HSAC and WIR, or is that two separate positions? Council Member Onishi, do you know the answer to that question?
You know, I don't know, but I think it's just for two separate.
Okay, because one of the things that we could keep in mind is that we can either appoint someone for HSAC and WIR as the same person, or maybe two separate people. That's just a suggestion in the sense of how this body wants to do it. But I do want to throw my name into the vice for HSAC. I was the previous vice for the HSAC representative, and if I'd be honored by this body if I could also be the next vice HSAC representative.
Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, I see that there's approved appointee and alternate appointee. Is that correct, Mr. Onishi? Can I ask Mr. Onishi?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Correct.
So I'd like to, I don't know, I'd like to see the alternate appointee be Councilmember Drew Kanuha. I think he would bring, besides our culture, represent the council really well. I don't know if that's the same position you were talking about, Councilmember Ilagan. I'd love to, because of his cultural background also, I think he would be a good representative for us as an alternate. But that's just my suggestion. I don't even know if he would be willing to, so I'll ask if you would want to serve.
Mr. Kanuha?
Well, I had a different preparation of speech, which I was going to talk about, but...
Okay, go ahead though. Go ahead. I'll yield that for now.
No, I do support how it currently is right now. I did have a want previously when we first started to chair this committee as well, and be part of the HSAC and WIR and all this. Now that we've known what exactly they do, so I do have that interest in becoming the appointee. But currently, I support Mr. Onishi I do also want to say that it will be important in the future, Mr. Onishi, too, that we can change it out a little bit as well. I know, you know, so that other members of this body can have that opportunity to serve as an HSAC representative or WIR and on that these positions. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm in support. I'm going to do what I can as well when we lobby for state legislation or on the federal level on behalf of Hawaii County or our districts that we represent. So I just wanted to throw that out there and state that.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Onishi?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do support what Mr. Kunuho is mentioning is that, you know, if come the next term, that, someone else should be taking that role because of, you know, they need to get the experience like how I did. And then that way you get to meet the different legislatures. And so, yes, I would support that.
Okay.
Ms. Poindexter?
Yeah, so if I read this right, we're nominating two people to this, an appointee and an alternate appointee, right? So how are we gonna handle this? Are we gonna, like, see, I wanna ask Councilmember Drew Kanuha if you would consider being the alternate appointee since you're supporting Councilmember Onishi as an appointee. Zenda, you have? Oh, okay. Excuse me? No, I'm asking you, would you consider being the alternate appointee?
Again, I said that I would like to be, you know,
The appointee or alternate appointee, either
I want to hear
way.
from everybody else first.
Okay.
Anybody else? Ms. Willie?
Yeah, I feel that we ought to be alternating and bringing new people in, and I do think it tends to, so that everyone is really respecting everyone else's position and not just having one position represented. And I do think it just happens that Gregor and Fresh Onishi tend to represent more one side and be on the east side, and maybe have somebody from the west side would be good. So, I mean, I would be probably, my preference would be for Drew to be the representative and Fresh to be the alternate. And again, I am glad that Fresh feels open at having new people next time. So my main point I'm trying to make is I think that we ought to have others, and that we ought to always assume that we'll never have something locked in on one of those positions, whether it's Zenda or Karen or that. And number two, I'm just supporting Ms. Poindexter having Drew Kanuha in one role or the other. It seems to me as if that most of it is the person who's in the position, and the alternate really does very little. But I could be corrected on that. And the last point that I want to make is, I think when we discussed this at our organizational meeting, and at that time, this was my first choice of positions. And I think I was deferred, and anyway, I was fine with somebody else. But part of that was on the reassurance of the vice chair and the chair that they wanted to encourage all of us to do more, play more of a role in terms of advocacy on whether it's a state or federal level. And, you know, I'm not always sure that that's, anyway, I would like that to be really encouraged, especially where the HSAC members don't necessarily are in the minority on key positions that we're doing. So, number one, let's move this around and have it be something that we're all, whoever, I'm happy to have Drew and Fresh in those positions. I would prefer that rather than staying with both two people from on the east side. Thank you. I yield.
I went once, so.
Okay.
Ms. Ford?
You know, I have to agree with Ms. Poindexter and Ms. Willie. I think it's important that this position be around. I think it's important that different sides of the islands be represented. And I'll tell you why I support Mr. Kanuha taking the primary role. First of all, as an alternate, Mr. Onishi can train you. He's there, he's got a wealth of experience in this situation. I think those of us who are more senior members on the council, that's one of our, to me, it's one of our responsibilities to try to train the newer council members, and in this case, an HSAC, we're NACO person. I have to say I've become a little uncomfortable. First of all, let me say Mr. Onishi's done a really, really good job this year. Really good. Very pleased with her performance. But I do think that we need to let, you know, we've had 1 year into this. You guys, all you newer people have gotten some experience. And I think it's time for some of you to start stepping up to these positions and, you know, let the old guard, you know, pass the baton, if you will. So, Mr. Kuno, I kind of support you taking the lead position in this. You're going to have a very strong person able to help you. Maybe you could go to meetings with Mr. Onishi, you know, simultaneously. I would encourage you to accept this nomination. I really would. But you're going to have to say, yes, I accept. Or I can't vote for you. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Yoshimoto.
I just wanted to clarify something with Mr. Onishi, if I may ask him a question. So Mr. Onishi, what we're looking at here is the HSAC representative and representative on the Western Interstate Region Board of Directors, 2.
Yes, and then also with the, I guess we'd have to get the alternate
Okay.
of HSAC.
So my recollection is you currently serve as both the HSAC and WIR, is that right?
Correct, because as executive board members, I guess they, appointed or they had put in where, I guess the president was WIR before, Mel Raposo was WIR, I was WIR, and Stanley Chang and Mike Victorino was on the NACO boards.
Okay, so let's see. So council members, I'm just basically clarifying that, you know, technically speaking, well, one more question for Mr. Onishi. Mr. Onishi, does the WIR activities, do they involve the HSAC issues as well? Or is it kind of separate if it's more of a...
It kind of works together. Yeah, so you have like HSAC, and then you have the WIR, and then you have NACO.
Okay.
So everybody work hand in hand.
Oh, so, well, I'll just cut to the chase. So would it be helpful to have the person who serves both WIR and HSAC, or could you split that up?
No, I think you could. You could.
Split it up.
You could have separate people. Like, so say, you know, you would have a person on the WIR board that this council elected or selected, and then you also can have another person for HSAC representative for Hawaii County, and also their alternate. So you can have maybe like 3 different people.
Okay. So council members, I don't know if that helps with the discussion a little bit as far as spreading the wealth, so to speak. You know, from my experience, just for whatever it's worth, having seniority in any position, as we know, I shouldn't say seniority, I should say years of experience, or however you would call it. It does help to a certain extent, but I also have said many times before that I also believe that, you know, we should all have an opportunity to serve in different capacities as well. So, you know, the example would be Councilmember Hokama from Maui. He's going to be, well, he's already elected as the national president this coming July.
No, he's not. He's the first vice president right now. Then come in July, then he's nominated to the president of NACO.
Right. So I think that's an example because Mr. Okama has been involved for a long time. But anyway, I like the discussion. I agree with having different people serve. So I just like to hear who else is interested. I'll yield the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad that Councilmember Yoshimoto brought that up because that's the first thing I mentioned regarding WIR, the HSAC, and the alternate HSAC representative. But it's according to this body, what they want to do, and I believe everybody already knows where I stand. Thank you.
Mr. Elegon basically said that he's, as he stated previously, he's interested in remaining as an alternate, but he does agree that maybe different people could serve WIR and HSAC. Mr. Kaduma.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although I really appreciate the comments made by the rest of the council, I think I'm gonna keep with what my first statement was in keeping it how it needs to be right now, given the situation. I do eventually would like to be part of this in some capacity, but I think that's how I'll decline to accept any nomination towards either one.
Does that mean also either alternate? Is either be considered as an alternate? For HSAC? Because we actually have three there's actually three different appointments we can agree to today. One is for an HSAC rep, one is for an HSAC alternate, and one is for a WIR representative. Correct, Mr. Onishi?
Yes, we could do that, correct.
Oh.
Yeah, well, Madam Chair, so this is just a communication, just for discussion purposes. It's not a resolution appointing anyone, so we can just, this is a move to file the communication. So I just wanted to hear the thoughts of council members, so no decisions need to be made today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yoshimoto.
Okay.
Ms. Ford?
I really think that we need to spread this around, so at this time I'm going to ask Ms. Poindexter if she would be willing to serve as an alternate.
I would love to serve as an alternate. I've been going to the HSAC meetings anyway and testifying and being a part of it. And, with Councilmember Willie's statement, I agree too that, I'm not just on the east side, I'm kind of like towards the middle. And I don't mind being an alternate. I would love to. I think I have some valuable input. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Ms. Willie?
Yeah, I would appreciate having Ms. Poindexter be the representative, and I think that it should be, we should shift it around and have Fresh be the alternate. And like Brenda was saying, try to train them and give something. I think one thing Val comes, Councilmember Poindexter, she's neither east nor west. She's really north, that we do have some shifting around. So I would, I'd like, and I do think it sort of gets entrenched in that it's really, as I watch, it's primarily the person who is the representative. And it's just sort of like, if you can't make it or there's a problem. So I would like encourage us to think about having Ms. Poindexter be the representative and Representative Onishi, who's had this opportunity for quite some time, and would, number one, and number two, would be then there to assist. And certainly I would hope that Jay, during the first while, would allow the two of them to attend and not like you've got to choose as to between, and that we would all support that. So I appreciate Ms. Poindexter standing up, and I know she has gone to a number of these meetings. It's not like it's something new that's unknown to her and doesn't know what she's getting into, and I think she presents as well. And I also just, appreciate Gregor having done it. I know at first we had talked about doing it, and that, and Fresh, it's certainly not a reflection of what you've done. You've done a lot of good things, and even represented interests that you didn't agree to, and took all of us into account. But I do believe this is one position where it should not be sort of held. It should be shifted around, and that we should look at it as something that's mobile, and whoever is interested has an opportunity. So that's my 2 cents, and I think this has been a good discussion. I do think the person who is HSAC really should be the WEIR member, and I know last year Mr. Onishi encouraged that, and that it really empowers that person. If it's somebody else, they don't really have the background and the experience, and I think maybe you could have a different alternate or somebody else go to that meeting, and we could allow possibly have Mr. Onishi encourage other members to be able to attend these at times, which I think you have done, Chair Onishi, so that we do all sort of see what's going on. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wu.
Madam Chair, if I, were you referring to me or to Fresh, Mr. Chair Onishi?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, you called me Chair Onishi.
Yeah, well, okay, Chair
I just wanted to
Yoshimoto.
make sure.
No, I was encouraged that you have said others who want to attend a meeting, that they don't have to do it totally out of their own pocket.
Oh, yeah, no,
and things like that.
just for the record, I definitely encourage the alternate. I don't view the alternate as that is defined. I view the other person, well, as like a vice or as a co. And having attended those meetings, and Margaret, I think you went to a few too as well. I mean, you see how effective we are when we're there as a voice, because we can communicate with other council members directly. I mean, 9/10 of what we do is communication. So that's the best forum for us to make sure our views are effectively and strongly advocated for. So council members, this is what I suggest. We'll prepare a resolution, we'll provide some options, and then we can have another discussion on this and vote on it. So we have until April 15th, so that gives us at least 2 more meetings, but we'll handle it. We don't have to make any firm decisions of what anything today, other than to file the communication. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Onishi, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple comments. I've always told council members at the meetings is to please attend the HSAC meetings, so that way you could see what is happening, the process at this meetings, and also showing its support depending on what bills that are on the floor at the HSAC. But then, if you guys remember when we did the budget this past fiscal, I did reduce the budget for HSAC. HSAC NACO budget, where I appropriated, or each council member, I think, got like $1,000 more, and that was for your traveling. And so basically, whoever's the HSAC representative, their airfare is going to be refunded back from HSAC. So if the alternate, like what I'm hearing is, if folks want me to be the alternate and I go up with whoever's being representative now, I would need to have funding for my airfares, because I wouldn't want to take it out from my DAE. Okay, and then like I said, in that budget that we have for the HSAC NACO, it got really reduced because all the council members had gotten that extra money, so that in case you guys wanted to go and testify, up in Honolulu, you folks had that money to go and fly up, and it wasn't like limited to what you guys had, like what we had appropriated from before, right? So just think about that if we do decide to do it that way, and I'm willing to, be that alternate. But then if I'm gonna fly up to help out whoever's going to be that person that can represent this county, then I need to know where the funding will come for the airfare for me to fly up, and also maybe the car. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I see no, Mr. Legon.
When I first got into this, I really was interested in being the representative for HSAC. And through this year, I've gained the experience to in this position. And one of the things I do want to say is, if this is what you really want, Councilmember Poindexter, I don't think I need to be the alternate for next year, and I'm willing to step down, even though I did want it, but there's so much things I need to do in my district that I'm willing to just step down and just have you as the alternate, or maybe Kanuha, or whichever way it goes. I'd rather not be in the situation where you talk about West and East, where we have mostly East members. If we can balance it out, that's fine. So for this discussion, to just make it easier, I'll step down as the alternate.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. And as Mr. Yoshimoto stated, we're not making any decisions here today. We wanted to discuss it, and we have a month or two before we have to bring it back to the council for decision making. So thank you very much, everybody, for the discussion. And if there are no further comments, I'll take the vote on filing communication 685.
Ms. Ford? Aye. Mr. Ilaga?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie? Aye. Mr. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Eoff?
Aye.
Chair Eoff, you have 9 ayes.
Thank you. Communication 685 is filed.